Hello ladies and gentlemen, Xentor here and welcome back to another YouTube video. Now in today's YouTube video we're going to be doing a little review of the A320. I'm not too sure what the cargo container's doing there, but yep. So we're going to do a little review of the A220, the A320 in infinite flight, of course. So we're going to do a little review of the aircraft. I haven't done a video like this before. But I like to do it on other aircraft if you all enjoy this video. Now, before I start, please remember, like and subscribe, and you can join my Discord server. There is a link down below in the description, which should work. If it does not, let me know. So, getting right into it, you can see the exterior of the aircraft here. Now, many of you may or may not know, but there is no interior. So, here we go. It's just like the void. And that means that on the exterior, the windows are just, the grey blobs, which is what I like to call them. They're just grey blobs. And you can see with the aircraft which actually have an interior, like the A220, or like the 777s, I believe. The A350, no, not the A350, sorry, that's just black inside, isn't it? But you can actually see, like, where the windows are a little bit more detailed. They're actual windows there. They're not just grey blobbed, which are there for detail. So I think that's something important, of course. To do with the exterior view. Now I think the paint job on this specific aircraft, what am I doing? There we go. The actual paint job, I believe, I think it's quite good for this aircraft, to be fair. It's a little bit blurry again, but you can see, I think that's the registration code or something, or the plane reg. So you can see it relatively clearly, much more clearly than the Embraer family at the moment, of course, and the 747. So it's a lot clearer than them in that sense, of course. So I think the paint job is okay. But all in all, I would give the exterior paint job maybe like 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10 sort of vibes. But I do like the detail here. Like, so they've got like the window half shut there below the D on the Delta. So the exterior, it looks alright. And then again, when we look at the tail, I think the tail is a lot more detailed than the actual plane. The rest of the livery. I'm trying to turn right, here we go. And so it does look a little bit better, and then, but when you zoom out far enough, just a little bit, it's not really noticeable. It is a hardly noticeable change of the actual aircraft. Okay, so what we can see now is I'm just showing you what it actually looks like when the PAX, the jetway, attaches to the aircraft. Now, a downside of the A320 here in infinite flight is that the doors don't actually open, so the doors are all sealed shut. Now in the 777s, the doors open, and I believe the A350, that might be wrong, but I know they also open on the A220, of course, and of course the smaller jets like the X-Cub and the TBM. But unfortunately on this A320, the doors don't open, but I still think it looks well, and the PAX does connect to the aircraft very, very well. And that is a very good and important feature, I believe, because when you're at the terminal, of course, you want it to be as most realistic as possible. Okay, so now moving on to the cockpit. Now, I think the cockpit is the most important feature of an aircraft. Maybe you'll disagree with me, but I think it is definitely one of the most important features. A live cockpit is essential now within infinite flight. So for the mobile flight simulator to progress, I think live cockpits and live 3D cockpits are essential, of course. Okay, so as I said, a live cockpit is very, very important in flight. So right now the cockpit is actually not on, because I believe the aircraft's pushing back. So it'll come on in a second, hopefully. I'm using replay mode, so it might be not why it works. But we'll just look at the detail of the cockpit first before I even look at the live bit. So you got the door, and I still think a little bit more detail maybe could be added to the door. Of course, because you can see straight through the gap here to nothing, pretty much. But the overhead panel, just get a little better view of that. So this bit, of course, here, I don't actually know what that does, to be fair. But I know all this stuff. So it's all 3D. The buttons even exist now, so they're not stickers, they're actual buttons, if I can try and get it close enough. Yeah, so we use them. So they are actual buttons now, so they do exist. So they are perfectly 3D now. Even the switches, I believe, down here, like the seatbelt and landing light switches, I think, up here. So, like, they're all 3D. It is a bit of a shame that the writing is a bit blurred. So, hopefully in future models and updates, the writing will not be as blurred on these aircraft. So, that's something to look forward to, hopefully. and then down here in the actual cockpit, so we do got the trim on the side. Now that doesn't actually move, but you will notice that the throttle does move. So we do have a live throttle. You got engine on and engine off switch down here right in front of the throttle, and the flaps are these, I believe, and I'm not too sure if the flaps work, but small stuff here. So like the Pepsi can, I think that's a very, very cool feature on the A320. Now I'm not too sure why this cockpit isn't working, so I'm just gonna skip. Oh, lots of skipping I've just done, and the aircraft is now moving onto the runway. So I'll just move on to the runway tool. Oh, here we go. So the cockpit is now actually living up. Oh, and we'll get a good view because the aircraft's taken off. So hopefully, here we go. Ah, perfect timing. Right. So can I get the view right? There we go. So you'll be able to see, hopefully towards the bottom, you can see the screen. And by live cockpit, you'll be able to see the screen move, and then you'll see the aircraft pitch up on takeoff. Now, I'm very lazy when I take off. I tend to only do small amounts of throttle and then slowly increment it. So I do actually end up using most of the track, unfortunately. Most of the runway when taking off. So here you go. You can now see the speed going up to 80 knots here, and you got the heading at the bottom. You got the map on the right screen, and then there is towards the right of your screen, you'll be able to see a smaller version of like the aircraft HUD that it shows you with inverted commas there. So that is what you'll be able to see, and the aircraft should take off now, or we're going to run out of runway. There we go. And then you got the pitch up. Now I did bring the gear up pretty quick after takeoff. We've already missed the gear coming up, so maybe I'll be able to come in here and show you all the gear. Oh look, they're still spinning. So the detail on the gear on the A320 is actually quite good. I think the detail is pretty good. There is a bit of room for improvement, of course, a few wires which can go in place, and then we got the main landing gear here as well. And again, the detail on these is okay, but I feel like it could be slightly better in my personal opinion, of course. Now, the next thing I'd like to discuss in this little review is the engines. Now, where are they? They're over here. Now, the engines aren't actually that good. My phone's just gone off. So I feel like the engines could be a whole lot better on the A320, and I feel like they are one of the things letting it down. I'm very fond of the engines, and I think again they add to the extra amount of realism. But again, there's just not that much detail with the blades. Of course, you got the little spinny spiral, but that's in most engines. This is even on the Embraers, even though it's extremely faint. So I think that is a limiting factor in this A320 aircraft, unfortunately. So that's good, but I will just go back and I'll find you a bit where the engines are still, and we'll just see what those blades look like. Alrighty, so we're now back and looking at the engine blades on the A320. Now, initially, when I've looked at them previously, I've been quite a long way back, and I've been like, wow, they're really well detailed, and we just have a floating cargo container. Let's go over here. And the detail on them, when you look up close, so we'll just zoom because I can't be bothered to move. Yeah, I don't think it's actually that good, to be fair. I don't think it is a great feature, actually, the engine. So, of course, they're much better than the blurs and the blackness of the Embraers, which you have at the moment, and they're much better than the A380. And I think it is sort of a middle ground, this engine, between the Embraer and the 777s. Now, the 777s have lovely engines in infinite flight. They are amazing. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I feel like they aren't actually as good as I expected. Now, when we now go to the back of the engine, I think this is where there's a lot of detail. Like, there's actually an engine in it, whereas some aircraft just have an empty gap. So if I can, yeah. So like, we actually do have an engine of sorts inside there, which is quite good. And then again, looking at the wheels now, they're down in the gear. Like I said, there's lots of detail to them, especially down here. That's quite good detail, actually. And I think I might have been a bit harsh, actually, but there is good. And again, we do need to remember, this is still a great aircraft in infinite flight. And it is probably one of the better aircraft in infinite flight, of course, featuring the live cockpit, which again just makes it better than an aircraft that doesn't have one, of course. I feel like there could potentially in the future be a smaller rework on the A320s, which would involve maybe an engine rework and a live, not a live cabin, of course, an actual 3D cabin with working doors and everything. And I think that could be a small rework, which could hopefully come in the future, but who knows? Who knows? Now there is again a final feature I'd like to show you, and it is not the aircraft floating. Why does replay do this? No, the aircraft is literally just floating for us. That's so sweet. A320s now have VTOL, and was it spoiler? I don't know what happened there. Well, there you go. You've just seen VTOL, the new feature of the A320, which is now in infinite flight. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm just going to show you the final thing I want to find, and there we go. We've got it. A bit of wing flex. Now the wing flex on this aircraft is great. Now I don't know if we're going to be able to see much of it because I wasn't flying in windy conditions, but you can here just see where the engines are, where the wings are flexing. And then like if we just skip back to the start, you can see, there we go, you can see it go up and down. So the wing flex again, up and then back down. So wing flex definitely exists within this aircraft in infinite flight. Now if you did enjoy this YouTube video, please be sure to make sure you like and subscribe, and if you did make it this far, let me know what airport you think I'm at, and I'll let you know in the comments down below. Just let me know what airport you think this is, and yeah, I'll see you all in my next YouTube video. Good night.